This is the ultimate motorsport snow race. We've got 24 different classes of motorsport today, sharing the same grid at a snowy winter version of the Silverstone circuit. 5 laps with a reverse grid, with the slowest car starting in the front and the quickest cars at the back. Today we'll be driving in the 2026 Formula 1 car and also giving the entire grid a 1-minute head start. How quickly can we get to P1 in this race, and what will the results look like by the end? Let's find out. Right, well, here we are then at a snowy Silverstone, revving up for lights out, and look how ridiculous that size difference is between the Dakar car and the kart as we get underway here for the ultimate motorsport race in the snow. The Formula student car getting held up an absolute treat by the European truck racer, the Audi Dakar rally car in the lead early on here, as I feel turn 1 quite a tight affair as some snow's being kicked up as the various different classes try and go side by side. We've got some rally cars trying to get down the inside of the truck racer. You've got the NASCAR truck going for it, 3 wide, getting pinched in, and the NASCAR truck has an issue. I think we had an issue with the NASCAR truck in the original motorsport race we did a couple of months ago earlier in the year. I think that got turned around at turn 1. It's been turned around again. There's something about the NASCAR cars. They just can't seem to keep it very clean, can they? The Formula E car is through. We've got side-by-side moments with the World Endurance car, a couple of GT cars in there as well, as they all go down the straight towards the field section. I mean, look at that, and only now are we getting underway. It's been a minute, and we've given them a massive head start. They needed it. They needed the head start because there's been a huge problem there for 3 different classes, 2 of them GT, and surprise, surprise, the NASCAR truck is involved again as we skate through Village. So even though here on Assetto Corsa, I'm not going to lie, even though visually it is a stunning snowy Silverstone, of course, it is impossible to actually get snow conditions per se on a track like this with so many different cars involved as well. But we have got the worst track conditions possible on Assetto Corsa, so it's a bit of a slippery affair out there. Grip is not going to get any better through this race, but I mean, look at that as a spectacle. That is insane. You know what I like the most as well is the headlights. Some of the cars that have their what's happened there then? What has happened there? You can't park there, sir. That's not allowed. Is the World Endurance car making his way through, the Ferrari looking lovely as ever. But I was going to say, yeah, it's actually great to see some of the cars with headlights actually making a difference. It's kind of a cool effect to actually see the light piercing through on the track, of course. And I do feel like if there was an actual race like this in snowy conditions, you would have full beam on if you had that ability. As we go around the outside of the European truck racer, and equally so, the Ferrari wet car making good progress ahead of us as we're trying to weave around. Don't know why I thought that would actually work to try and get some grip as we go around the outside of the very nicely McLaren skinned Formula student car. Very much the baby to the daddy there, side by side, and the NASCAR truck, I mean, nearly wobbling itself off the circuit basically. No wonder it was having so much of an issue on lap 1, but we've overtaken him as well, and the Ferrari continues to make great progress. The WEC car didn't make this much progress in the original race we did at the Indy circuit, so it's a big plus for it today as we're trying to now navigate our way through the beefy monstrosity that is that Audi Dakar car. It looks huge compared to the Formula 1 car, and we know the F1 cars are pretty big themselves, but the height difference is pretty crazy as we get through now some of the rally and the GT cars slicing our way through. This is insane. You can hear the different engine notes going on as well as we're trying to keep it as clean as possible. I'm also trying to make sure I try and stay on the racing line, because it could be quite easy just to go left and right and wide of all these cars, with the F1 car being an absolute monster, of course, but even more fun trying to cut through the traffic like a hot knife through butter, and honestly just taking in the spectacle of such a difference of level of motorsport that we're seeing in this race. And it's kind of cool to see that some of them are hanging on still, very much so, including this car, the WEC Ferrari is done very well, but now, as we're side by side, it's time to overtake him, and it's time to make that move up one more position, and soon we'll be getting on to the top spot in this race. We're up to P4 now, so we're just off the podium. Actually quite curious to see who the top three are. I think one of them is the Formula E car, and then the other two, I'm actually not too sure at all which classes we have there. So that's going to be quite curious, because unlike the Indy race, I can't actually see oh my lord! Well, I was going to say I can't see the classes ahead of me, but I'm going to have to think about the classes behind me, as we've had a massive mare there. So I said the grip levels couldn't be really simulated that well. Clearly, that was a big issue for me in the final corner. Very, very slippery there. And you got to say, actually, probably if it was actually a snowy Silverstone condition, that very much would be a massive issue. That final corner already is a huge issue in the dry, let's say, like on the official F1 game. So here, on a set of course, with the slippery track conditions, a big problem for me. But we really overtake then the Ferrari to get up into P4. We get our head down now to chase after that top three. It's lap 3, so we've still got, 2 full laps after this one to go. I'm still very confident that we can get into P1, but if you compare this to the original Ultimate Motorsport race we did at the Indy circuit earlier in the year, we're making less progress here. So really tangibly, the snowy conditions have made a bit of a difference. Maybe the circuit itself making a difference as we now rapidly gain though now. And it's okay. It's one of the old gen prototype cars that we overtake. I think that was also either a Formula 3 or maybe a Hypercar car, and then Formula E. Formula E was leading this race at this point before we make the overtake for P1 to get Formula 1 up to its rightful spot. But colour me very surprised. The Formula E car, it's not even the current Formula E spec car, I must add. The only Formula E car I could actually find for a set of course, like with the last video we did, was a very old spec. I think Gen 2, I think that is, but it still was leading for that long. To be fair, I think it just kept its nose clean. This one, even more so than the Indy race, seems to be about trying to keep it as clean as possible, as once again we are complete opposite lock through the final corner there. That one is catching me out completely. Every other corner absolutely fine, but that final one, there's just something about it that is horrendous. But as we now cut on to the off-board cameras, just soaking in the sights as we do every single year now. It's kind of almost become a tradition on the channel to do some sort of Formula 1 snow video. But in the past, of course, we've just done a full grid of Formula 1 cars, be it that current year or a future generation Formula 1 car. Obviously, we're using the 2026, Race Sim Studio Formula Hybrid mod, kind of, nice look into the future of Formula 1. But this time around, I thought, you know what, instead of just doing an F1 race, let's do the Ultimate Motorsport race as we go and lap the Formula Student car for the second time. Look at that angle. That angle of Cops was insane. The cart's going through Cops, and we're just following it like an absolute menace. And I talked about the size difference of ourselves versus like this European truck racer and the Dakar car. Well, the size difference from the kart to the F1 car is incredible. I'm so glad that camera angle caught that. That was so funny, creeping up against this car. That's still going, by the way. There are other classes in this race that have dropped out already or have had to pit. The kart has actually kept going, and the Formula Student, you would think these two cars might get bullied, and to be fair, the Formula Student car there, literally running off one of the other Formula cars off the road. It's hard to tell, with the Prema liveried ones, if it's like a Formula 3 or Frecker, but one of them gets run off the road by the Formula Student car. Obviously, you would expect the GT cars all close together, the rally cars quite close together, probably the NASCAR two classes, the normal NASCAR and NASCAR truck, not doing so well, especially the truck, very imbalanced, but the Formula E car continues to punch above its weight, still ahead of the World Endurance car, but I reckon that Ferrari is going to get up to second place by the end of this thing, and then a couple of classes in no man's land, as you can clearly see there for a second, some classes, as I said, in the pits, as we again, for the second time then, I think that's 2 laps we've done on the Audi, as that Ferrari now is closing up. It's into 3rd place. So World Endurance up to 3rd, and I think it will get Formula E by the end of this one, as actually, to be fair, the NASCAR truck's still in this one, and it even might go for a move. Oh, yo, nearly went for the move on one of the rally cars, I think. I mean, look at that rear end, though. The weight balance there is non-existent, as that camera angle was almost as useless as some of the F124 camera angles we have in the game, as the European truck racer mixing it up with some GT cars racing around as we go through for the final time through Maggot and Beckett and soak in the snowy climate. Maybe a bit too much even, as we get a bit loosey-goosey, and it's okay. Look, we just wanted to kick up some snow, you know. It's a snow video. We're going to have some snow in the air. Oh, look at that. No, we left a lovely little dusting on the main racing line. That's all we're doing. You know, we're making sure it's a white Christmas for other motorsport classes around. It's definitely not just me making an absolute horrendous howler of a mistake on that curve, as we now come through the final two corners. One lovely, tasty final overtake to make on to the right, final bend, and it's opposite lock once again, but we come through, no surprise, to win this ultimate motorsport race, be it in the sunshine of Indy or the snowy conditions here at Silverstone. But as usual, that has been our silly, very stupid snow video for the year, and basically I want to end it off by just saying I hope you guys have a great Christmas or whatever festive holiday you want to have, just a festive period. I hope you guys have a great one and a great end to the year with whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.